I knew it. She was sneaking food at night. It was 11:46 p.m. I rewound the security footage and paused as a small figure crept through the kitchen, lifting the lid of the pot. I clenched the mouse. I wasn't trying to be petty, but lately the food had been disappearing, quietly, suspiciously, and my wife had been on a strict diet. I just wanted the truth. But what I found was something else entirely. It wasn't the maid. It was my wife. And the man behind her wasn't me. He was taller than me, broad shoulders, white shirt unbuttoned at the top. She smiled at him, the kind of smile I hadn't seen from her in months. They stood close. He tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. She let him. Then she took his hand and pulled him toward the far corner of the kitchen, out of frame. I didn't press fast forward. My stomach churned. I stepped away from the computer like it had burned me. My chest ached. The house suddenly felt unfamiliar, cold. Every creak of the wooden floor echoed betrayal. We'd been married for 6 years. I never thought I'd see something like that. Not from her. Never from her. I collapsed onto the couch. The silence of the night pressed on my eardrums like a scream I couldn't release. Why? Why her? And who the hell was he? The next morning, I made breakfast as usual. She came downstairs in her thin nightgown, hair tied up, smelling like lavender, like she always had. She smiled at me. No cracks, no guilt. "Did you sleep well?" "Yeah," I said, hiding my hollow voice behind a sip of coffee. She sat down and scrolled through her phone. I stared at her like she was a stranger in my home. I couldn't work that day. I couldn't think. The image kept looping in my mind like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. Eventually, I opened the footage again. This time, I watched it all. She kissed him. No hesitation, no shame. He lifted her onto the kitchen counter. His hands slid behind her neck, down her shoulder. She tilted her head back and sighed. That's when I broke. If I hadn't checked the camera that night, I would have kept living in her illusion of love, smiling like a fool, trusting her with my whole damn heart. But now, everything changed. I couldn't pretend anymore, couldn't scream, couldn't confront her, couldn't throw things. All I could do was sit here and wonder, when did the love I cherished so much stop belonging to me? There was a faint scent on her scarf that morning. Not lavender, not her usual soft floral perfume. Something warmer, masculine. I sat across from her at the breakfast table, pretending to read emails. She was humming some mindless tune, probably something from the radio. She only hums like that when she was happy. She was happy, but I wasn't. I took another sip of my black coffee, not tasting any of it. I watched her out of the corner of my eye, like an intruder in my own marriage. I didn't ask anything, because if I opened that door, I wouldn't be able to close it again. That afternoon, when she left for work, I waited exactly 12 minutes before going into the bedroom. Not to look through her phone. I'd already tried that. She was smarter than that. But her drawer, the one she thought I never touched. It had a small leather-bound notebook inside, locked with a flimsy clasp. I didn't break it open. I didn't have to. There were receipts. A dinner at La Maison Bleue, a place we'd once promised to save for our 10th anniversary. A receipt from a jewelry store I never stepped into. And a business card. Adrian Wolf, interior design consultant. His smile on the card was irritatingly confident. That perfect jawline, the dark eyes that stared right into the lens. I'd seen that face before. He was the man in the camera. I was sure of it. I looked him up online. Website, Instagram, client testimonials. A charming persona built for housewives with too much money and too little attention. And now, he was the man touching my wife in the kitchen where I made her soup when she was sick, where we decorated cupcakes with our daughter, where we laughed once upon a time. I closed the drawer, careful not to leave a trace. That night, I stared at the ceiling. She lay beside me, breathing soft and even. I listened to every inhale, every exhale, trying to remember the last time she reached for me in her sleep. She hadn't, not in a long time. "I'm meeting a client tomorrow night," she said the next morning over toast. "He wants a last-minute walkthrough of the space before we finalize the decor." I nodded slowly. "Will you be late?" "Maybe, I'll text you." She wouldn't. I knew that now. She kissed my cheek. A quick, routine kiss. The kind that doesn't mean anything. She didn't notice that I didn't kiss her back. That evening, I parked across from La Maison Bleue. I wasn't proud of it, following her, but she made me into this. I waited, and then there she was. Hair curled, lips red, heels high. Not the version of her I saw at home, not the tired woman in sweatpants and a loose bun. This was the woman she wanted him to see, the woman I hadn't seen in years. She met him by the entrance. He took her hand. They kissed, no hesitation. Then they walked in together. I didn't follow. I didn't want to see more. I just sat there in the dark car, one hand gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. When she returned home that night, her smile was tired but light. "Client was difficult," she said. "Took forever to settle on lighting options." I just nodded. She changed into her pajamas, brushed her teeth, and slid into bed next to me, like nothing had happened, like our marriage hadn't been bleeding out for months. As she fell asleep, I stared at her back. I reached out once, hand trembling, then pulled it back. I used to know every inch of her. Now she felt like a stranger. But here's the thing. I wasn't going to leave. Not yet. I wanted to know everything. If she could lie with such ease, I could wear a mask just as well. Next chapter, I will knock on Adrian Wolf's door, and I won't be polite. I didn't knock. I stood in front of Adrian Wolf's studio, staring at the gold-lettered sign on the frosted glass door. Wolf Interiors, where style meets soul. What a joke. I'd booked a consultation under a fake name, used a spare number, paid a deposit. If he was going to ruin my marriage, I'd at least look him in the eye while he did it. The receptionist was a woman in her late 20s, polite and polished. She led me through a narrow hallway filled with curated pieces, sleek vases, abstract paintings, tastefully placed lamps. Everything screamed perfection, just like him. He walked in 5 minutes later, late but radiant. Tailored blazer, impeccably styled hair, that same cocky smile from the business card. "Mr. Green," he said, extending a hand. "Apologies for the delay." I took his hand. Firm grip. I squeezed tighter. He didn't flinch. We sat across from each other in a room flooded with natural light and tasteful arrogance. "So," he began, flipping open a leather-bound notebook, "what space are we working with?" I looked him dead in the eyes. "I'm not here for design," I said calmly. "I'm here because you're sleeping with my wife." Silence. Just for a moment. Then he blinked, closed the notebook, leaned back slowly in his chair. "I was wondering when this would happen," he said. Just like that. No denial, no guilt, just calm, collected acknowledgement. My jaw tightened. "You're not even going to pretend?" He shrugged. "I respect honesty." "Do you respect marriage?" A pause. A faint, smug smile. "I respect love, and sometimes love doesn't care where it finds you." I stood up, walked to the window. If I stayed sitting, I might have lunged across the table. "You know she has a daughter?" I asked.
"She mentioned," he said, his voice cool. "I've never met the girl. That part of her life is still yours." That part. He said it like my child was a leftover on a dinner plate. I turned to face him. "Do you love her?" I asked, the words dry in my throat. His expression softened, but not in the way I expected. "I think she loves the idea of me," he said quietly, Someone who listens, who makes her feel seen, who doesn't remind her of all the things she's given up. That one landed deep, because he wasn't wrong, not entirely. For a second, I hated myself more than I hated him, but only for a second. "She's still married," I said, "to me." He nodded. "I know, and I told her I wouldn't cush. I never asked her to leave you. This is on her." I stared at him, my heart pounding in my ears. "You're disgusting." He looked me straight in the eye. "So is silence, and you've been silent a long time, haven't you?" I left before I did something I'd regret, but his last words followed me all the way home, haunting every corner of my mind. "You've been silent a long time." When I got home, my daughter ran to me with a drawing in her hand. "Daddy, look, it's us, you, Mommy, and me." 3 stick figures holding hands under a sun that smiled too wide. I smiled, but it didn't reach my eyes. That night, as my wife stepped out of the shower, wrapped in a towel, she looked at me with suspicion. "You okay?" she asked. I nodded. "Just tired." She looked at me for a moment too long, and I knew she could sense the shift. I lay awake again that night, not out of pain anymore, but calculation. If she could lie that well, then I could play this game just as long, because now I didn't just want answers, I wanted control. The next morning, I smiled at her like nothing had changed. I kissed her on the cheek as she left for work. I even told her, "Don't stress yourself too much, babe." She looked over her shoulder and gave me that sweet, familiar look, warm, soft, comforting. It used to mean something. Now it felt rehearsed. She thought I didn't know, and that was my advantage. For the next few days, I played the part of the perfect husband. I cooked her favorite meals, I asked about her day. I even suggested we have a date night this weekend, just the two of us. Her smile faltered for half a second before she said yes. That hesitation, I saw it. Good. Let the guilt confuse her. Let her wonder what I knew and what I didn't. Meanwhile, I did my homework. Every night after she went to sleep, I sat alone in my study, piecing together the timeline of her affair. The camera footage, the receipts, her call logs, the nights she claimed to work late but never came home with anything new to show. And her mood, the gradual shift over the last 6 months. She wasn't unhappy, she was just somewhere else, mentally, emotionally, physically. One night, I found a message thread on her tablet that she forgot to log out of. She'd saved Adrian's name as J. Flowers. Subtle, clever, too clever. But the content wasn't clever, it was cruel in its intimacy. "Wish you were the one next to me tonight. He doesn't even notice when I wear perfume anymore. You make me feel like I'm 20 again." 20 again? I gave her everything when she was 20. The apartment, the ring, the quiet nights building a future together. And now, she was handing pieces of our history to a man who had just learned her name. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the living room, staring into the dark, not crying, not raging, just listening to the silence of a house built on lies. Our daughter came downstairs for water and found me sitting there. "Daddy?" I quickly wiped the exhaustion from my face. "Hey, sweetheart, couldn't sleep either?" She shook her head. "You looked sad." I smiled and pulled her into my lap. "Just thinking." "What are you thinking about?"
How your mother is cheating. How everything I believed in is breaking. How I'm going to destroy the lie without destroying you. Instead, I kissed her forehead and said, "About how much I love you." The next day, I had lunch with my friend Michael. He was the only person I could trust with this. I showed him the camera footage, the messages. He watched it all, silent, his jaw clenching tighter with every second. Finally, he looked at me and said, "You're not going to confront her?" I shook my head. "Not yet." "Then what?" I'm going to let her walk deeper into her own story. I want her to believe I'm still blind. Michael looked at me with something between fear and admiration. Are you sure you can handle this? I have to. For my daughter, for myself, and because I want her to see what it feels like to be the last one to know. That night, I bought a new camera, one with sound. I installed it in the study, where she often took calls for work, and in the garage, where she sometimes said she needed space. She wouldn't notice. She didn't notice before. She thought I was clueless, thought I was weak. Let her think that a little longer. During our so-called date night, I booked a table at the same restaurant where she had gone with Adrian. She hesitated the moment we pulled up. I saw it in her eyes. "This place?" she said. "Yeah," I replied, opening her door. Thought it might be nice to try something new. Her smile was tight. She scanned the room as we walked in, checking, I assumed, for him. I held her hand, looked at her like she was the center of my world. She stared back, unsure, unbalanced. The wine came. I toasted to new beginnings. She raised her glass, but her eyes flickered with something I hadn't seen in a long time. Fear. That night, after she fell asleep beside me, I opened the camera app. She had taken a call in the study earlier while I was showering. I tapped play. "He wants to take me to Paris," she whispered into the phone. "But I can't just disappear. Not yet. I need him to believe everything's okay, at least until I figure out the money." The money. So this wasn't just emotional. It was strategic. It was planned. She wanted to leave me and take what I built with her. The pieces were shifting now, but I wasn't going to fall. I was going to let her set the fire, and then I'd be the one holding the matchbook. The morning after I heard her whisper, "Paris," I moved half our life out from under her, without ever leaving the house. I woke before dawn. The sky was still the color of wet slate. The house breathed slow. She was asleep beside me, face turned toward the window, hair fanned across the pillow like nothing in the world was wrong. My phone screen lit the room in pulses as I typed, scrolled, transferred, downloaded, joint checking, view statements, college fund, export PDF, mortgage portal, change 2FA from SMS to authenticator app, brokerage, revoke trading permission for secondary login, savings sweep rule, off. Each click was a stitch pulled from a seam she didn't know I was unpicking. I didn't move the money out, not all of it. That would be loud, suspicious. Instead, I split the large savings bucket, 70% into a new account in my name with our daughter listed as beneficiary, 30% left sitting where she expected to find it, enough to keep her calm, not enough to fund Paris. I renamed the new account Education Reserve Trust. Boring, invisible, safe. By 6:10 a.m., I was in the kitchen making pancakes shaped like hearts, because Friday is her breakfast day with our daughter. It was petty, maybe, but I wanted to see her face when she came down to discover I'd done her job for her. She blinked, surprised. "You cooked?" I said. "Couldn't sleep. Thought I'd spoil my girls." A flicker of guilt, or paranoia, crossed her eyes. She kissed my cheek. It landed light, distracted. While our daughter ate, my wife checked her banking app under the table. Reflex, habit, maybe fear. I watched the tiny crease form between her brows and then smooth out when the balance looked normal. She didn't realize the bulk had already been rerouted through an internal sweep logged under scheduled tax allocation. She never reads the notes. Midday, I met with Michael's sister, Claire, a family law attorney who'd seen every shade of domestic implosion. "Do not confront yet," she said after reviewing the documents, the screenshots from the camera, the audio clip of the Paris call. "Quietly securing assets is legal if you don't dissipate them and everything remains trackable. Keep records, timestamp everything. If she attempts to move marital funds without consent, we document intent." Intent to leave, I asked? Intent to conceal, intent to misappropriate, both matter. I swallowed. "What about our daughter?" Her voice softened. "Whatever happens between you two, protect her routines. Judges look at stability, schools, health, emotional continuity." I nodded. Stability I could do. It was everything else that was shaking. That evening, I installed 2 more hidden cameras,
One covering the safe in the master closet, another angled low across my desk, where I keep the document folder she thinks holds our tax returns. The real files were already scanned and backed up to encrypted cloud storage. The folder now held decoys and a blank authorization form with a micro tamper strip that would record the first lift of the page. If she tried to forge my signature, I'd know. Saturday afternoon, our daughter sat on the floor with crayons, drawing wide blue skies and lopsided houses. I watched her carefully select a pink crayon. "This is Mommy," she said, "and this is Mommy's airplane." "Mommy's airplane?" I asked casually. "Mm-hmm." She said, "Maybe we go Paris." She pronounced it like Palis, but maybe just her and Flower Man first. The crayon snapped in my fingers. "Flower Man?" She nodded, uninterested in my panic. "From Mommy phone. He sends flower picture. He has dog." Adrian. Of course he has a dog. I fought the urge to laugh hysterically. "Did Mommy say when she's going?" I kept my voice steady. She say, "Shh, surprise." My daughter pressed the broken crayon piece into my palm. "Fix it?" I couldn't fix the crayon. I couldn't fix this marriage. But I could fix what happened next. That night, we put on a family movie. Halfway through, my wife took a work call in the study. I muted the TV and hit record on my phone, syncing it with the study camera stream. Her. "He's acting, I don't know, nicer? Suspicious, maybe? We need to move the timeline up." Pause. Her. "Yes, I can access the joint. He never looks. I'll transfer in pieces. No, he won't notice." Longer pause. Her. Lower. "Don't worry. By the time he knows, I'll already be gone." Gone. The word rang like metal. Sunday lunch with her parents was my idea. Public, domestic, ordinary. She couldn't duck out, couldn't text freely. She played doting daughter-in-law. I played devoted husband. Her father asked about our long-delayed kitchen remodel. "Funny you bring that up," I said, buttering bread. "We're tightening spending for a while, setting aside funds for Lily's education." My wife's fork paused midair. "That's so?" her mother asked. "Yeah," I continued. "Actually, moved most of the liquid savings into a restricted account yesterday. Better yield, less temptation to spend." My wife smiled, too wide. "Good idea," she said. Her knuckles whitened. Message sent. That evening, she initiated sex for the first time in months. I let it happen. I kissed her back. I touched her the way she used to like. She cried afterward, quietly, face buried against my chest. I stroked her hair and said nothing. Maybe guilt. Maybe manipulation. Maybe she wanted transaction records to show normal marital relations. I recorded the date anyway. These things matter in court more than people think. 2 days later, the trap sprang. At 3:12 p.m., I received a fraud alert from the bank. Outgoing wire request, $48,500, pending dual authorization. Dual authorization. She hadn't anticipated that I'd quietly reclassified transfers over $10K to require my biometric confirmation. The request sat in limbo. 30 seconds later, my phone buzzed. "Hey, did you change something with the account? Bank called me about a weird requirement. Can you approve? It's just a vendor thing for a client project." Vendor thing? Sure. I replied, "On a video call. We'll look later." She shot back, "Need it today, please, urgent." Then, "Love you." She never abbreviates. Panic texting. I drove to the branch instead of using the app. The manager met me in a glass cubicle. I showed ID, confirmed I had not authorized the transfer, and asked where the funds were headed. He rotated the screen. Recipient, Wolf International Design Services, Paris Advance. Blood roared in my ears. "Deny," I said. He clicked. "Would you like to flag the account for suspicious activity?" "Yes, and freeze external wires unless both parties are present in person." He hesitated. "That will notify the joint holder." "I'm aware." When I got home, she was waiting in the kitchen, phone in hand, smile stretched thin. "Hey, bank stuff came up weird. Did you—" Yes, I said, setting my keys down. I changed some things. What things? Our future. She froze. I stepped closer, lowered my voice so our daughter playing in the next room couldn't hear. We need to talk tonight, I said, after she goes to bed. Her pulse jumped at her throat. She forced a laugh. Okay, sure. About what? About Paris. I held her gaze. And about Flower Man. The color drained from her face. She didn't speak during dinner. She barely ate. She tucked her daughter in early, then lingered in the hallway like a person waiting for a verdict. I sat in the living room, the study camera footage open on the tablet between us, paused on her whispering into the phone, "By the time he knows, I'll already be gone." I tapped play. She watched herself, watched the lie, watched the life she was planning without me. When the clip ended, she didn't look up. "What do you want?" I asked quietly. She opened her mouth, closed it, tried again. I don't know." "That's not good enough," I said, "because I do. I want the truth. I want my daughter safe. I want my dignity back. And I want to choose what breaks and what survives, not have it chosen for me."
She didn't speak for a long time. The screen between us had gone dark. My hand rested lightly on the tablet, but the weight of what she'd said in the recording was still ringing in the room like an echo no wall could absorb. "By the time he knows, I'll already be gone." I studied her face in the quiet. Not the guilt, not the tears threatening to fall, but the calculation behind her silence. She was measuring her options. "I want to explain," she finally said. "You had plenty of time for that," I replied. She swallowed. "You weren't supposed to find out like this." "No," I tilted my head. "How was I supposed to find out? A note on the kitchen counter? An empty closet and a frozen account?" She closed her eyes. "I was going to talk to you. I just wasn't ready." I let that sit for a moment. Then, "Is it love?" Her eyes snapped open. "What? Is it love with him?" She looked down, didn't answer, didn't lie either. I nodded. "Why him?" Her voice cracked. "Because he listens. Because I don't feel invisible when I talk. And when you undress?" The words landed hard. She winced. "Don't," she whispered. "Why not? You did it. You crossed the line, more than once." "I didn't plan to," she said, almost to herself. "I didn't want it to happen that way. But it did." She wiped her face, angry at herself, or maybe at me for knowing. "I was lonely," she said. "I felt like a ghost in this house. All I did was work and parent and survive. And every night you'd sit in your study or scroll through emails or fall asleep on the couch." "You stopped reaching out," I said. "So did you." We stared at each other. The space between us a graveyard of silent years. "It wasn't about the money at first," she admitted. "But then we started dreaming. A new life, a clean slate. I thought if I could just get us ahead, just enough to not start over broke. You were going to steal from me." "I wasn't stealing. You were funneling nearly $50,000 to a man you're sleeping with under the pretense of a fake vendor. You were preparing to disappear with my daughter. Don't sugarcoat it." She looked down, trembling. "I wasn't going to take her." That hit me harder than anything else. "You weren't?" "No." Her voice was hoarse. "She belongs with you. She loves you more. You're the better parent." That sentence, so softly said, unlocked a part of me I didn't know was frozen. I believed her. And for a second, that hurt more than the affair. I stood, walked to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water. "You could have told me you were unhappy," I said, not turning around. "I tried," she said. "I did turn now." "No, you hinted, you sighed, you got cold, you resented me. But you didn't talk. And then you found someone who looked at you like you mattered, and suddenly communication wasn't so hard anymore, was it? She flinched. I know I betrayed you. You didn't just betray me, I said. You made me question my entire sense of reality. She was crying now, silently. You're not going to hit me back? She asked. Emotionally, I mean. You're not going to scream, cheat, do something to make it even? I shook my head. No, because I'm not you. She stared at me like she didn't recognize me anymore. Good. Let her see that the man she lied to, the man she dismissed as too quiet, too dull, too routine, was no longer standing where he used to be. I need to know, I said, walking back toward her. Is it over? She hesitated. Long enough for me to know the real answer. Emotionally, maybe, she whispered, but we never had a clean break. You still talk? Yes. Did you sleep with him after the night in the kitchen? Another hesitation. Yes. More than once? Silence. I closed my eyes. I want you to leave the house, I said finally. She gasped. What? For now. A week, a month. I don't care. I need space. And our daughter doesn't need to see us pretending. But where? Go to him, or to your parents, or a hotel. I don't care. Tears spilled now. You're kicking me out of my home? I'm not kicking you out. I'm reclaiming my sanity. She packed that night. Not everything, just enough. Our daughter asked where mommy was going. She needs a break, I said softly. Just a few days. My daughter looked confused, but not scared. Kids can sense the quiet before the storm. Maybe she already knew. After the door closed behind her, I sat on the edge of the bed. The silence was thicker now. But it didn't feel empty. It felt earned. That night, I opened a new document. Timeline of events. Dates, transfers, conversations, recordings. If this ended in divorce, I would be ready. But this wasn't about war anymore. It was about truth. And I had finally started to hear my own voice again. The first night without her was quiet. But not the kind of quiet I expected. Not the silence of absence. The silence of space, of air returning to a room that had forgotten how to breathe. For the first time in months, I slept. Not deeply, not peacefully, but it was real. There were no footsteps pacing the hallway at midnight, no hurried whispers in the study, no perfume left behind on a shirt that wasn't mine. Just me and the truth. The next morning, I made breakfast for our daughter. She asked if mommy had work again. I said yes. She nodded and munched on her toast like a child used to things shifting without warning. Kids sense things. They feel the weight of lies even when they don't understand the words. That haunted me more than anything. I dropped her off at school, then drove aimlessly for a while. Past the coffee shop where we used to sit every Sunday. Past the old park where she once told me she wanted a life with no hiding. She'd hidden everything since. But somehow, that quote stayed in my chest like a rusted nail I couldn't pull out. Eventually, I found myself parked in front of a downtown building. Tall glass, trimmed with steel, clean like a blade. Wolf interiors. I didn't come to fight, not this time. But I needed to know something, and I wouldn't get it from her. Adrian wasn't there. But his assistant, the same woman from before, recognized me. Her eyes narrowed slightly. And I could tell she was trained in professionalism, but not in confrontation. I'm sorry, she said. Mr. Wolf's out for the rest of the day. I'm not here for him, I said. Then I lowered my voice. Can I ask you something, off the record? She hesitated. Sir, I'm not going to cause a scene. I just want the truth. That made her pause. After a long silence, she leaned in slightly. I don't know what he told your wife, she said. But Adrian isn't who he pretends to be. My heart picked up. She glanced around the lobby, then whispered, You're not the first man to walk in here after catching him in something. What do you mean? He's good at what he does. He flatters. He plays the savior. But once women start falling too deep, he moves on, always. My chest tightened. You mean he's done this before? More times than I can count, she said. He picks emotionally vulnerable women, lonely, overworked, feeling unseen. He doesn't steal them, he makes them walk away on their own.
I left without saying much else. Outside, the city moved as if nothing had changed, but everything had. She thought she was escaping into something real. She was just another line in his pattern. That night, she texted me, "Can I call you?" I didn't answer. She called anyway. I let it ring. Then, 20 minutes later, another message. "He's not who I thought he was." I stared at those words for a long time. I wanted to laugh, to scream, to throw the phone at the wall. But I did nothing. Because it was beginning, the unraveling. The next morning, she showed up at the house.
Hair messy, no makeup, no armor. She looked like the girl I married a decade ago, before the lies, before the exhaustion, before the mask. "I need to talk," she said softly. I didn't open the door all the way, just enough for her to feel the boundary. "What changed?" I asked. Her lips trembled. "I thought I was in control," she whispered, "but I wasn't. He played me. I see it now." "You're sure it's not just because he doesn't want you anymore?" Tears welled in her eyes. "I made a mistake," she said. "I made 1,000 of them. But I didn't leave because I stopped loving you. I left because I forgot how to feel anything." I didn't know what to say to that. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But then I remembered the recordings, the secrecy, the way she was willing to take everything and run. "I'm not here to ask for forgiveness," she said. "Not yet. I needed you to know I see it now. I see everything." I nodded. That was all I could give her. "I need time," I said. She stepped back, nodding, wiping her eyes. "I'll wait," she whispered. As the door clicked shut, I leaned against it, breathing in the silence again. She was falling now, not because I pushed her, but because she jumped with her eyes closed. And the man who caught her was never planning to hold on. 3 days passed since she showed up at the door with red eyes and a shaking voice. She hadn't called again, hadn't texted, and I hadn't reached out. But in that silence, something inside me shifted. Not out of rage, not out of grief, out of clarity. That morning, I opened the safe in the back of the closet, the one she never bothered with. Inside were our marriage certificate, property deeds, tax returns, and a box labeled Dreams, written in her handwriting from 9 years ago. I opened it. Letters, photos, the old bucket list we wrote on our honeymoon napkin. Grow old together. Paris and spring. Raise a strong, kind daughter. My hand lingered on the last one. That dream wasn't dead. Not yet. But the rest? Some endings need to be rewritten. I called my lawyer again. This time, not for advice, but for preparation. "I'm not filing yet," I told him, "but I want the documents ready. Custody terms, property agreements, everything." He didn't ask why. He just said, "Understood." That night, I picked up our daughter from school and took her to the bookstore. We sat cross-legged between the shelves, reading picture books about animals and astronauts. She laughed more than I'd heard in weeks. Then she looked up at me and asked, "Daddy, are you and Mommy mad at each other?" I froze. I couldn't lie, not to her. "We're just trying to understand things," I said gently. "Grown-up things. But we both love you very, very much." She nodded, then leaned her head on my shoulder. That moment anchored me. Whatever storm was coming, she'd be the reason I stayed grounded. Later that week, I got a letter. Not a text, not an email. A handwritten letter, folded neatly in an envelope with my name on the front. It was from her. Inside, the words were shaky but careful. "I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking to come back. I just need you to know I'm in therapy now. Real therapy. Not spa day meditation and wine with friends therapy. The kind that forces me to look in the mirror and not blink." Adrian left, or maybe I did. I'm not sure it matters anymore. He was never real, not really. Just a shadow I chased to avoid my own reflection. What I did to you,
I don't know if I can ever live it down, but I want to face it. And if you'll let me, I want to show our daughter that mistakes don't have to define us. They can rebuild us too. I read it 3 times. Then I folded it and placed it in the box labeled Dreams, not to forget, but to remember why this time I wouldn't let emotions rewrite the facts. That weekend, I sat her down in a quiet cafe, just the 2 of us.
She looked thinner, paler, but not broken. More like someone who'd finally started feeling the weight of her own choices. "I received your letter," I said. She nodded. "I'm not ready to forgive you," I continued, "but I'm ready to set boundaries." "Okay. I want joint custody, but she stays with me during the week." "Of course," she said immediately. "I'm retaining the house. It's her home. Her school is nearby. Her rhythm needs to stay intact." "I understand. And any financial decisions from now on go through legal channels. No verbal agreements, no backroom compromises." She hesitated, then nodded again. There was no fight in her, not anymore. Only the slow, painful understanding of what she'd truly lost. She reached into her bag and pulled out a tiny sketchbook, handed it to me. On the first page was a drawing, our daughter and me holding hands. The caption underneath, "The safest place I know." "She drew this yesterday," my wife said. Her voice cracked. "She said she wanted you to have it." I blinked back the sting in my eyes. Not for her, for the girl who still believed in safety. We stood in silence for a long time. "I'm not the woman you married," she whispered. "No," I said quietly, "you're not." She wiped her eyes and began to walk away. But before she left, she turned back. "Someday, I hope she sees both sides of us, not just what we did wrong, but how we handled the consequences." I didn't respond. Some wounds don't need replies, just time. That night, I tucked our daughter into bed. She looked up and whispered, "Are we going to be okay?" I kissed her forehead. "We already are." The morning sun spilled through the kitchen window as I cracked 2 eggs into the pan. I wasn't making breakfast for anyone but myself. Our daughter was still asleep upstairs. But the sound of something sizzling, the aroma of something warm, made the house feel alive again. Not haunted, not hollow, mine. The calendar on the fridge still had her handwriting on it. Piano lesson at 5. Parent-teacher meeting 14th. Anniversary, yellow. The last word half erased in pencil. I didn't cross it out. Some things don't need to be erased. They just need to fade on their own. That weekend, I took my daughter to a pottery studio, just the 2 of us. She laughed when her bowl collapsed under her hands. I laughed when mine came out lopsided. The clay was messy, slippery, unforgiving. But in its mess, there was joy, just like us. That night, I scrolled through old photos, vacations, birthdays, quiet Sunday mornings. I expected it to hurt. But instead, I felt distance, like watching someone else's life through a window. The man in those pictures smiled too much. He gave too much without asking for anything back. He mistook silence for strength. He wore loyalty like armor, even when no one was aiming arrows. But now, I knew better. I went back to therapy. For years, I thought I didn't need it, that men like me just handled things. But handling is not the same as healing. In the office's pale light, I began to say the things I never could say at home. I felt invisible. I thought being dependable would be enough. I wasn't perfect, but I never stopped showing up. My therapist listened. No judgment, no advice, just presence. Sometimes presence is all we ever needed. One night, she called again, my wife. Not to ask for anything, just to say, "She's lucky to have you, and I wasn't." I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Some apologies aren't meant to be absorbed. They're just echoes in a hallway we no longer live in. Adrian tried to contact her again, apparently. She didn't respond. Her therapist told her that closure sometimes means not getting the last word. I agreed.
At work, my colleagues noticed the change. I wasn't distracted, I wasn't withdrawn. I was focused, present. A junior designer stopped me one day and said, "You look lighter." I smiled. I think I am. I started running again. In the early mornings, when the world was still unsure of itself, I laced up my shoes and hit the pavement. I didn't run from anything anymore. I ran toward something. Freedom, stillness, me. One evening, my daughter sat on the porch with me, knees hugged to her chest. "Are you and Mommy friends now?" she asked. I took a moment. "We're learning how to be kind to each other again." "Is that hard?" "Sometimes." She looked up at me. "Is that why you tell the truth now, even when it's hard?" I looked at her, amazed. "Yes, that's exactly why." She nodded like it made perfect sense. I realized then that this journey, this hell we'd walked through, had given me something after all. Not a clean ending, not even forgiveness, but a daughter who would grow up watching her father walk through fire and never lose his kindness. Late that night, after she fell asleep, I stood in the doorway of her room, watched the way her chest rose and fell, the soft glow of her nightlight dancing across her cheeks. This was peace. Not the kind that comes from things going right, the kind you earn when you finally stop trying to control what broke you. I was no longer the man who watched his life collapse through a camera lens. I was the man who chose what to rebuild and what to leave behind. It started with spilled coffee. Not poetic, not cinematic, just 2 paper cups, 1 dropped bag, and a shared look of awkward apology. I was kneeling down to pick up my daughter's sketch pad. She was reaching for a book. We collided somewhere between aisles 4 and 5 of the neighborhood bookstore. "I'm so sorry," she said, and I believed her. Not just for the coffee. She looked to be in her 30s, in jeans and a cardigan too big for her shoulders, hair tied in a loose bun that had already started to fall. She laughed nervously. Clearly, I should keep my caffeine and literature separate. I should have walked away, apologized, smiled, left it at that. But instead, I said, "That's a tough balance. I failed at it myself." She looked up at me, really looked, and smiled again. It wasn't flirtatious. It wasn't forced. It was present. Her name was May. She was a children's therapist. She was looking for a book to read with one of her clients, something about grief, but gentle enough for an 8-year-old. I handed her a title my daughter loved, The Invisible String. She looked at it, then at me. "Have you read this one before?" I nodded. "A few dozen times. My daughter calls it the one with the magic string." "That sounds like a very smart girl," she said. "She is," I replied. "Wiser than I deserve." We didn't exchange numbers. We didn't linger. Just 2 people sharing a quiet, accidental moment of connection in a bookstore full of whispered pages. That night, I lay in bed and thought about how strange it was, how someone could enter your life for 3 minutes and leave behind a ripple. I didn't feel pulled, not yet, but I felt reminded that connection was still possible, that kindness, when it had no agenda, could still feel like hope. The next day, I took my daughter to the park. We watched ducks, she fed them breadcrumbs. She told me about a boy in her class who had 2 moms, and how everyone should be allowed to love whoever they want, right, Dad? I smiled. Exactly. In the distance, I saw a familiar cardigan, May. She was sitting on a bench, a notebook in her lap, occasionally glancing at a boy playing on the swings. She saw me, waved. I waved back. We didn't speak that day, but something about her quiet presence comforted me. Not like lightning, more like warmth returning to numb hands. A few days later, we met again, accidental or maybe not, at the farmer's market. Trying to be healthy, she teased, eyeing the green juice in my hand. Trying to lie to myself, I replied. She laughed. Then she noticed my daughter beside me and knelt down. "Hi," she said softly. "I'm May." My daughter blinked at her. "Are you Daddy's friend?" I hesitated. May looked at me, waiting. I said, "She's someone I'm just getting to know." And that was the truth. Later that night, after I tucked my daughter in, I stood by the window and looked out at the quiet street. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel haunted. Not by betrayal, not by guilt, not even by memory. May wasn't a replacement. She wasn't a romantic twist. She wasn't a distraction. She was just a reminder that healing doesn't always end with closure. Sometimes it begins with a question. What now? And for the first time, I didn't dread the answer. I welcomed it. She didn't ask what happened. Not once. In the weeks that followed our second run-in at the market, May became a part of my world in the most unintrusive way. A smile at the library, a shared coffee in the park, a quiet moment at the end of the day when I realized her voice didn't need to fill space, it just needed to exist. She never once asked, "Where's your wife?" She never once hinted, "Are you available?" Instead, she offered something more dangerous, something I wasn't prepared for. She offered reflection. "You think people change," I told her once, on a walk with our kids beside us, hers a quiet boy named Oliver who spoke mostly in dinosaur facts. "They do," she replied. "But not always in time," I said. She looked at me. "Is it about time or about courage?" I didn't answer, because for the first time in a long time, I didn't know. One night, I stayed up late scrolling through my email. Among the clutter, work notices, PTA reminders, spam, I found an unread message from her, my wife. Subject, "For when you're ready." I didn't open it. I stared at it for a long time, then marked it as unread again. I wasn't ready. And maybe that was okay. The next time I saw May, we sat on a bench overlooking the water. Our kids were throwing rocks into the lake, laughing about whose splash was bigger. She leaned back, arms stretched behind her. "I don't ask about your past," she said softly, "but I feel it sometimes." I looked over at her. "How?" She smiled. "You apologize a lot, even when you're not doing anything wrong." I blinked. That landed. I thought about all the sorries I'd said lately. To my daughter when dinner was 5 minutes late, to the grocery clerk when I asked for a paper bag. She was right. I had become a man walking on eggshells, tiptoeing through my own life like I didn't belong in it. "You don't need to tell me," May said, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I think there's a version of you that's trying to come back. That version. The one before the betrayal, before the lies, before the silent unraveling of a marriage that once felt invincible." I didn't know how to find him. But maybe I didn't have to. Maybe I could become someone new. Later that evening, I watched my daughter sleeping, peaceful, whole. I thought about what May had said, about courage, about versions of ourselves buried under survival. I sat down at the kitchen table and opened my laptop. Then I opened the email. I don't expect a response, but I needed to say this. I've been journaling everything, for therapy, for myself, but maybe, one day, it can help you understand what I never said out loud. Not to justify, but to explain. If you want it, I'll send it. If you don't, I understand. I stared at the message for a long time. Then typed. Not yet, but maybe someday. The next afternoon, I saw May again. This time, I brought 2 coffees. One for her, one for me. "Look at you," she teased. "No apologies today?" "Not one," I grinned. She raised her cup to mine like it was a toast. "To that version of you," she said. "No," I replied. "To the version after that." There was no kiss, no touch. Just 2 people sipping coffee in quiet acknowledgement of something new. Not love, not yet, but respect. And sometimes that's where all real healing begins. She showed up on a Saturday. No warning, no text, just the sound of gravel crunching under her tires, and then the silence of a woman standing at the gate, hesitant, no longer sure if she belonged. I saw her from the kitchen window. She was holding a small paper bag, one of our daughter's favorite cookies from the French bakery she used to love, a peace offering, a memory wrapped in sugar and guilt. When I opened the door, she didn't smile. "Is she home?" she asked softly. I nodded. "She's in the backyard, painting." She lingered.
Waiting. Maybe for an invitation, maybe for something that no longer existed. I stepped aside. "Go ahead." My daughter ran to her, arms outstretched. "Mommy!" She dropped to her knees, hugging her like she'd been gone for years. And maybe, in a way, she had. I watched from the kitchen as they sat on the grass, painting clouds with watercolors and talking about school, the garden, her latest drawing. I didn't interrupt. I didn't hover. But I noticed it, the small things. My daughter didn't call her mommy the second time. She called her mom. Distance, defined in a single syllable. Later, as they cleaned up brushes and wiped paint-stained fingers, she looked over at me. "I didn't want to just leave," she said. "I was afraid she'd hate me." I folded the towel in my hand. "She didn't hate you," I said. "She missed you. There's a difference." She said, "You've been painting with her." "I have." She nodded, eyes wet. "She laughs more now," she whispered. "It's a different laugh." I didn't respond, because it was true. We sat at opposite ends of the living room that evening, like strangers reunited by obligation. "I'm not asking to come back," she said. "That ship sailed. I let it sail." Silence. I want to be here, for her, however you'll allow." I studied her. Not with resentment, not with longing, but with a calm I hadn't known I was capable of. "You'll have to earn it," I said. She nodded. "I know." In the days that followed, she tried. She picked her daughter up from school twice a week, brought puzzles and books, learned her new bedtime stories, laughed at the jokes she used to miss. But my daughter never asked if she was staying. She never said, "Mommy, come home." Because home wasn't built on nostalgia, it was built on presence. And for a long time, I'd been the only one who stayed. One evening, she lingered after dinner. "Do you remember when we first moved in?" she asked. I didn't answer. She looked around the house. "It used to smell like paint and lavender. We didn't even have furniture yet, remember? Just a mattress on the floor and wine in plastic cups." I remembered, but I didn't smile. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened," she continued, "if I had just told you I was unhappy?" "All the time," I said. She blinked, clearly not expecting honesty in return. "I used to think you stopped seeing me," she confessed, "but I think I was the one who stopped being visible to myself." That night, she left quietly. No promises, no requests, no tears. Just a slow retreat into the life she chose and left behind. I sat on the couch, the house quiet again. My daughter leaned against me, sleepy. "Is Mommy staying over next weekend too?" "We'll see," I said. "Would you like that?" She thought for a long moment, then shrugged. "She's nice," she said, "but I like when it's just us sometimes. It feels light." Light. She didn't mean it as a judgment, but I understood it completely. The next day, May texted, "Library with the kids again this weekend?" I typed back, "Absolutely. We're both looking forward to it." We. Not just me. In the rearview mirror of my life, the woman who once stood beside me had become a shadow, regretful, familiar, but no longer needed for the road ahead. And I realized she didn't just walk away from me. She walked away from the best version of herself. And I had no intention of waiting for her to find it again. It was May who asked the question I'd been avoiding for months. We were sitting on the steps outside the art museum while the kids chased each other on the lawn. Late afternoon sun, breeze soft enough to forget how heavy life could be. She passed me a bottled tea. I took a sip. And then she said, "When did you first start disappearing from your own life?" It hit me like a whisper behind a closed door. Soft, but impossible to unhear. I didn't respond right away. She didn't push. That was May's gift. She knew how to wait without making the silence uncomfortable. I thought about it for a long time that night. Long after I'd tucked in my daughter. Long after May had gone home with Oliver. Long after the world had settled into its usual lull. I sat in my study, the same chair where I once watched my marriage fall apart on a glowing screen. But this time, I stared at something else. A mirror. Not a literal one, but the kind that comes with hard questions. When did I start fading? Not when she cheated. Not when she packed a bag. Not even when she lied. It was before that. It was in the moments I stopped asking how she felt. In the nights I chose work over conversation. In the silences I justified as peace. In the dinners eaten across from each other like strangers with shared bills. I had been faithful, but I hadn't been present. The truth was ugly, but it was mine. The next day I told May. We were walking after school drop-off, coffee in hand, no kids tugging at our sleeves. I told her everything. How I used to think being a good husband meant not causing problems, not raising my voice, not forgetting birthdays, not cheating. But never once did I ask, was I connected to the person I loved? May listened, quiet, still. When I finished, she said, "You took responsibility. That's rare." I shook my head. "It's late." She smiled gently. "It's not. It's just later than you wanted." That evening, I opened the file my wife had sent weeks ago, her journal entries. I read every word. Not to forgive her, not to reopen wounds, but to understand the version of her that had also felt invisible. Sometimes I talked, and he nodded, but he was already 3 thoughts ahead. Emails, deadlines, projects. I missed the way he used to get lost in just me. I knew it was wrong, but being seen, really seen, after years of silence felt like oxygen. I didn't leave because I stopped loving him. I left because I forgot how to love myself around him. I closed the file, exhaled deeply. We had both vanished. Not overnight, but slowly, quietly, with every unspoken word. That weekend, I sat across from her at a co-parenting meeting we'd scheduled with the counselor. She looked tired. Not broken, but real. "I read it," I said. She nodded, understanding what it meant. "I never asked what you needed from me," I continued. "Not really. And when I did, I didn't listen." Her eyes filled. "I didn't know how to ask," she said. "I didn't even know what I needed." We sat there, in the space between blame and ownership. And for the first time, it didn't feel like enemies dividing a house. It felt like 2 people picking through the debris for what still mattered. After the session, she walked with me to the parking lot. Our daughter was with May and Oliver for the afternoon. "I don't know if I deserve any of this," she said. "You don't," I replied. Then I added, "But neither did I, back then." She looked up. "We both lost something," I said. "But we also have a chance to raise her better than we lived, to show her what accountability looks like." That night, May came over. She didn't ask questions. She just held my hand while we sat on the couch watching our kids build blanket forts. And for the first time, I didn't feel like a man recovering from ruin. I felt like a man who had finally come home to himself. Because the version of me who watched it all happen wasn't the final version. It was bedtime when she asked it. The question I knew would come, just never knew when. She was brushing her teeth, humming a song she half remembered from school. I was laying out her pajamas, folding them like I always did. A small habit that made me feel needed. Then, in the most casual voice, she said, "Why don't you and Mommy love each other anymore?" I froze, not because I didn't expect it, but because no matter how many times I rehearsed the answer, none of them were enough. Not for a child. Not for her. She looked at me through the mirror, toothbrush still in her mouth. Eyes honest, curious, not yet hurt, but ready. I knelt beside her, gently wiping toothpaste from her chin. "Can I tell you something important?" I asked. She nodded. "Sometimes," I said slowly, "2 people love each other very much, but they forget how to take care of that love, like when you forget to water a flower." She tilted her head. "And then it dies?" "Sometimes," I said, "or sometimes it just changes shape." We sat on her bed, legs crossed. She picked at the sleeve of her pajama top. "Did Mommy stop watering it?" she asked. I took a deep breath. "She did," I said honestly, "but so did I, a long time before she did." She nodded like she understood. "Does that mean you're both bad?" "No," I said. "It means we made mistakes, grown-up ones." "Do you hate her?" I looked at her for a long time. "No, I don't hate her." She leaned against me then, small and warm and safe. And I knew I had told her enough. Just enough truth to build strength, not too much to destroy wonder. The next morning, she was back to drawing dinosaurs with wings and writing her name in rainbow letters. But the way she hugged me felt tighter, like something unspoken had shifted, and it had. That evening, May came over for dinner. Our daughter asked if she could sit next to her. May smiled, surprised but touched. They laughed about jelly beans and pizza crusts, and for the first time, I saw something bloom between them, not as a replacement for her mother, but as someone who existed in her world with no agenda, only kindness. After we tucked her in, May and I sat outside under the porch light, each holding a cup of tea. She asked about the divorce, I said. May looked at me, serious. What did you say? The truth, I said. Just not all of it. She nodded. That's the hardest part, isn't it? Telling just enough to protect them, but not so much that it poisons them. I exhaled. I keep wondering when I'll mess that line up. You won't, she said, because you care too much not to walk it carefully. Later, she looked at me, long, steady, and asked, Have you forgiven her? I took my time with the answer. Not completely, I said, but I don't carry her anymore. That's something. May smiled faintly. That's a lot more than something. A week later, my ex-wife joined us for our daughter's school play. It was a simple scene, paper costumes, too many missed cues. But my daughter lit up when she spotted me in the front row, and again when she spotted May. She looked between us, then smiled. Not confused, not divided, just whole. After the play, we stood in the hallway together, me, my ex, May, and our daughter. It wasn't awkward. It wasn't perfect, but it was possible. That was enough. That night, before bed, my daughter asked one last question. Is it okay if I love all of you? I kissed her forehead. It's more than okay, I whispered. It's what makes you beautiful. The first Sunday of spring arrived like an exhale. Sunlight pressed through the windows without apology. Birdsong returned to the garden fence. And for the first time in over a year, I woke up without dread in my chest. No recording to replay, no secrets to uncover, no silence to decode. Just stillness. The kind that doesn't feel empty, the kind that feels earned. May came by in the afternoon. She brought a small lemon cake wrapped in brown paper, still warm. My daughter opened the door before I could. You're late, she said, arms crossed, grinning. I brought cake, May replied, holding it like a peace treaty. You're forgiven, my daughter giggled, stepping aside. We ate on the back porch, the three of us. No occasion, no tension, just ordinary joy. I watched them, May patiently listening as my daughter explained why she wanted to build a treehouse with a pulley system like in spy movies. And I realized I wasn't waiting anymore. Not for pain, not for closure, not for what-ifs. I wasn't watching the door for the past to walk back in, because I had finally shut it, locked it, and stepped away. Later that week, I met my ex-wife at a coffee shop, just the two of us. We weren't there to argue or reconcile, just to talk, like people who once built a life together and were now learning how to rebuild it separately. She had been consistent, showed up for our daughter, never overstepped, never asked for more than she'd earned back. There was a softness in her now, and sadness too, the kind that lingers in someone who has finally learned the price of absence. I've been writing again, she said. About us? About me, she corrected. About what I let break before it ever cracked. I nodded. Then I said something that surprised both of us. I forgive you. Her eyes welled up. You don't have to, she whispered. I do, I said. Not for you, for me. We parted with a gentle goodbye. No promise of someday, just peace. Sometimes that's the most love you can give someone. Permission to go and not carry their ghosts with you. That evening, May and I sat on the porch again. No music, no words. Just the sound of our kids giggling inside, the smell of lemon and lavender and sun-warmed wood, and the kind of silence that doesn't ache. She leaned her head on my shoulder. "Do you ever think about how it started?" she asked softly. I smiled. "All the time. But I think more about how it ends." She looked at me, eyes full of something neither of us had dared say. Not yet, but someday. And this time, I wasn't afraid of someday. Because here's what no one tells you. Healing doesn't come with trumpets. It doesn't show up on a mountaintop. It arrives quietly, like spring after a brutal winter, like laughter returning to a room that once held only echoes, like a little girl asking, "Is it okay if I love all of you?" And a man finally saying, "Yes," not because he survived, but because he learned how to live again.